Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 24 hours, you probably all know what I'm going to talk about, at least a little bit. There's been some pretty big breaking news that came out last night, and it has dominated the news cycle pretty much all day. The internet is abuzz about it. And it's because it's a big deal. It really is. Many of you are probably very excited about it. And in case you don't know what I'm talking about, for those 2 or 3 of you that don't know, it was leaked last night that the Supreme Court is set to overturn Roe v. Wade. It came out yesterday evening that a court clerk within the Supreme Court has leaked information that they have enough justices that have agreed that they're on board with overturning Roe v. Wade. This morning, Chief Justice John Roberts confirmed that what was leaked is true, that there are enough justices, 5, have committed to overturning Roe v. Wade. Now, that could change, and a lot of people believe that this unprecedented leak, because it's never really happened before, it is to try to get the court to sway the other way. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that they're going to stick with this, and in a lot of ways it's a good thing, but there's a lot here to unpack. And I know some of you are saying, I thought this was a homesteading and prepping channel. Why are you talking about all this politics stuff? Well, guess what? There is a preparedness aspect to this, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. And like it or not, you don't ever have to watch my channel again if you don't want. I'm very unashamed and very bold pro-life. That's just what it is. I mean, I just am. And this is one of those issues that I cut my teeth on many years ago in getting, kind of becoming of a conservative activist. And so it's good to see it. Now, let's get to the meat and taters of this. Before you start believing what you're hearing on the news, what the Supreme Court is apparently going to do, and let's just, for the sake of this video, let's just assume that is what's going to happen, that they're going to overturn it, because I'm pretty sure that they will. I think they will. I think it's kind of all part of the plan. I know. It's like, how do you bring a conspiracy into this? Just stick with me. I think it's part of the plan. And I feel pretty confident, and I could be wrong, but I think that they will go ahead and go through with this vote. Now, that being said, what does that actually mean? Does that mean that now, abortion is now illegal in the United States? Actually, it doesn't. All it does is it throws the issue back to the states, which is where it began. It says that the federal government basically, has nothing to do with this, okay? And it's up to the states. Most of the people that are already raising a ruckus and even protesting, and I'll get to that in a minute, most of those people live in states that are going to be completely unaffected, okay? The majority of the states, abortion is legal, and Roe v. Wade being overturned will have zero effect on them at all. This map here shows you the states that have what's called trigger laws, and as soon as Roe v. Wade is overturned, these trigger laws will happen, meaning that these laws have already been passed and they have been signed into law, that as soon as Roe v. Wade is overturned, these laws take place. And on this map, I can't remember, I should have checked this before I started the video. It shows you how professional I am here. Anyways, the ones, I think they're in the dark blue. Those basically are the states it's going to be outlawed completely, with the exception of the mother's life. So if there's an emergency procedure that needs to happen to save the mother's life, that's going to be okay. That's pretty much, most people are acceptable of that. I mean, I understand, I don't like that idea. I'm a hardliner, but most general people are like, listen, that's the one area we're willing to compromise on. So in those states in blue, it's going to be illegal with that exception. The other states, I think orange, it becomes illegal at 6 weeks, and then the other color, I don't remember, red, purple, whatever it is. Those states, it's illegal, but there's no enforcement of that law. So it's in the gray area. If you go ahead and you have one, what are they going to do to you? Maybe nothing. But the rest of the states that you see on that map, nothing's going to change. So that's one thing. It's a good thing, folks. I'm still working on a video I promised you this past week, and I haven't put it out yet because there's just been a lot of stuff going on in my life. Not necessarily bad, just really busy. And I'm still struggling with how I want to make this video. It'll be put over on Rumble and a few other alternative sources, and I'll let you know as soon as I do. But it's talking about then this is going to be part of it. Just the lack of morality. We have no moral compass whatsoever in this nation. The stuff that's going on with children and how they're grooming and indoctrinating children, and things that are absolutely grotesque. I mean, just a couple of years ago, they would have been considered criminal. I remember, and I'm going to share this. I'll probably share it again in the video that I'm going to make for the extended video. That I was actually talking to my wife just this morning about this, and I said, I remember it was a little over 2 years ago. 2.5, 2 years ago, 3 months, something like that. But I could take you to the exact place that this happened. I was listening to the radio. I was listening to a talk show on the radio in the car, in the truck. And they were talking about this doctor, this professor, not doctor, a professor. And he had written a book, and he was talking about pedophilia and how it was okay. And how, it was okay for a child to choose gender and all this kind of stuff. And I remember on this talk show, and this was a fairly mainstream talk show. It wasn't one of these like conservative podcasts. And this fairly mainstream talk show. And they were just aghast that this was happening. And I wasn't so shocked because I've heard and kept up on this kind of stuff. But I thought, man, this is we're crossing a threshold here because it's now becoming more mainstream. That someone very publicly is printing this book and talking about how it's okay, and we're going to start seeing this become mainstream. And that was just 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, folks. 3 years ago, this whole gender stuff, at best, people would have laughed at you, and at worst would have said, this is absolutely wrong and criminal. And now, so much of our lives, it seems, is wrapped around a pronoun or something like that. We're not losing our moral compass. We're not off course when it comes to morality in this country. We are completely gone over the edge. We've thrown every bit of morality and traditions out the window. And in big part, it started with Roe v. Wade. So it is a good thing. I fully support the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I think that it is very much a state issue. I think that I also hope, keeping my fingers crossed, that if it stands, and it stands in these states that have it outlawed, that maybe some of these liberals that live in these states will say, you know what, fine, forget it. I'm moving to New York or California or wherever. And my opinion is see ya. Don't let the doorknob hit you with a good Lord split you. You're welcome to leave. But I think that there's more going on here. I feel like I'm babbling, but there's more going on here, folks. I remember 2 years ago, what a lot of people refer to as the Summer of Love, all the BLM riots and everything, the George Floyd stuff. It's funny, it happened right before an election, right at the height of a health crisis and all this kind of stuff. And here we have an election coming up soon. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of conspiracy around what they're going to pull this election to things slow down. We've got the whole war happening. We have droughts. We have this massive supply chain collapse that's looming because of the shutdown in China. And then now we have this. Within about 30 minutes of the leak of this apparent upcoming ruling, there were already people outside the Supreme Court almost minutes after the leak became public. And I'd love for someone to actually come up with an exact timeline, because it seemed like that this was all planned. the leak hit the news, and within moments after that, they were erecting gates and walls and stuff, perimeter fencing around the Supreme Court. And within about 30 to 40 minutes, there were people surrounding the Supreme Court protesting with pre-made banners, almost like it had been planned. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a hotline where you can have, on-call protesters with a variety of banners available that you can just, generic ones that you can choose from. But what I saw yesterday evening, within 30 to 40 minutes after the news hit of this potential ruling, is that there was a whole bunch of protesters surrounding the building with their signs. They're already becoming violent, or at least aggressive. The left has lost their ever-loving mind on the internet. And the issue, while I believe that still a majority of Americans support this, I think it's becoming a very narrow majority. The best numbers that I can find are 52% of Americans support this. And of course, they're just flooding, millions and millions of people into this country, and who knows what those people will support. Probably whatever they're told by the people that give them all the free stuff. So we're in an era that's different than 20 years ago, when the vast majority of Americans thought that this was horrible, and only the very fringes were supporting this. A much larger amount of people support Roe v. Wade and support it being a law of the land. I think this issue is going to has the potential, let me put it that way. This issue has the potential of causing a whole lot more disruption than the George Floyd thing. The George Floyd thing attracted minorities and attracted young people and supportive minorities and a few people in the fringe. This Roe v. Wade is going to attract a lot of people, and they're going to make it a trans issue. It's going to be an LGBTQ XYZ 123 issue. The possibility of another summer of love, and possible even worse, I think is quite real. Already this morning, I've seen numerous people, fairly prominent people online, talking about that this could be the Civil War thing. This could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. That this could be that thing that causes it to happen, because this is a huge issue. It's a huge issue for people like me, and it's a huge issue for people on the other side. And many of them, as they've shown in the last weeks and months and years, that this isn't any longer about protecting a mother's, life, and that's how that used to be the argument and stuff. Well, if there was rape or incest, or if the mother's, that's not the argument anymore. They want to do it because they enjoy the thought of doing it. They embrace it. This is great. It's cool. And I've seen countless interviews with, I've had dozens, and I'd have dozens more, and it's a sick and demented world that we live in. If you don't believe me, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. It's a free country. But this is what I believe. And I think that there is a strong possibility. I'm not saying it will happen. I think that there's a strong possibility that we could see a lot of civil disturbance because of this. And that civil disturbance could become quite great. And you add that into the mix of all the stuff that we've been talking about for weeks, okay? If you've been watching me for any length of time, all the different things that I talk about on a regular basis, and now you throw this into it. And if you've listened to me over the last couple of weeks, I've said it multiple times, that if just anything else happens to throw it into the mix, it could cause everything to be exacerbated. And while a lot of you may be sitting there thinking, oh, how will people protesting Roe v. Wade overturning have anything to do with the supply chain or the lack of wheat or the drought? Trust me, it will affect it. You take people out of work, just the general disturbances in the community. This could be it very well. The people that were saying this online, it's very possible that this is an issue that could push us over the edge when it comes to just overall violence around the nation. I'm not saying that it will happen. I'm saying that it's a possibility to happen. And so while many of you, and I hope most of you, are happy to see this happen, and maybe some of you will find yourself living in a state that no longer allows this type of grotesque behavior and crime to happen. The fact is I think that this is kind of part of the plan. They need the disturbance. They need the disturbance probably for the elections. They need the civil disturbance and the breakdown of our society for their whole Great Reset plan. And it would not surprise me one bit if this ruling is part of it. I mean, who knows? The fact is I think that there could definitely be some negative repercussions. I'm not saying that I wish it didn't happen. I'm certainly glad that it happened. And every life that is spared because of this happening will make it a success, even if it's only one. But folks, the strong possibility of things starting to spiral out of control, just like they did a couple of years ago, you all remember that. Don't forget the crazy riots that were happening. You take just that alone and you add to the mix of what's already happening here in America, and that's going to be a bad deal. And if it's any worse than what that happened during the Summer of Love, it could be a really bad deal. So be thankful for what happened, because if it goes through and if it stands, it's very possible that lives can be saved from it. But folks, continue to get ready, because there's the negative side to this is that it could possibly be a catalyst for seeing things get much worse in our country. There's already all kinds of calls online by the left to refuse to go to work, to burn cities to the ground. There's been calls of storming the Supreme Court. I mean, they're going crazy. They're absolutely losing their mind. And they don't like it that the Supreme Court says you cannot, make human sacrifices anymore to your, statues. Anyways, I've probably taken it too far, and hopefully, maybe, we'll see if YouTube even allows this video to air. But I'm telling you, this is, I think, a pretty pivotal moment in American history. And there's going to be some good come from it, but I think there could be some repercussions, some negative things, because that's just the direction we're headed. That's how societal collapses work. We just further us down that road. So folks, continue to get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.